Well, hey guys, this is Mark.
Hey, this is Kevin.
And this is Go to the Campus, where we learn how to share Christ with teenagers.
Hey Mark, today's a really important subject.
Yes, I love this one.
The idea of conferences is always on our minds because we know how big deal that is in the life of a student.
What's life-changing. I often say that 6 months of ministry is equal to one conference or camp where you're getting them away for a kind of secluded space. They're in a place they're not used to. The culture is different because everyone's always singing about God and learning about God and talking about God. And it's this incubator where their faith really grows. It's
amazing how many students will sign up. They're not Christians even.
Yes.
They'll come to our conferences. The first couple of days, they're like, what's this all about? There's something about the environment there where God's got their attention. And so many have trusted Christ in those venues.
Yeah. And so today we want to talk about how do you get kids to a conference? Specifically, how do you challenge a student? And so we're going to talk about how to really dig in in a kid's life and help him get to the conference.
That's what we all want. Right? So, it'd be easy to stand up in our weekly meetings, have a flyer, talk about the event, and let that be enough.
Right.
And we call that sowing broadly, but hey, it's really not enough, right?
Well, but that is the first point, is that broad sowing is important. You've got to do the work of putting it on your Instagram feed or whatever social media you've got. Get the flyers in their hands, get the flyers in their parents' hands. You've got to talk about it a lot. When I was doing ministry at Fisher's, we would talk about it every week. In fact, every week we talk about it, and a testimony every week. Oftentimes the testimonies were someone from Fast Break, especially building up to Fast Break. And you just talk about Fast Break all the time to the point that they're sick of hearing about it.
There are a lot of students who have never gone to these events.
Right.
So you might think, it's pretty tough to convince them that this is really worth their time.
Yeah.
When you can paint a picture for what that event it really is going to be about, it begins to seep into their thinking.
Yeah.
Especially though when they see a friend or someone else has gone, and they can give credibility.
When friends go, they want to go.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into this.
Yeah. So the first one is broad sowing. That's important. You've got to do all the work for that. What's the second thing?
It comes down to actually being able to sit down with a student or a group of students and personally challenge them to the event. Give specific information about what that conference is going to be all about. Some very specific points of interest in that conference, just to paint a vision for it.
Yeah, well, even specific things about them, like what do they need for this? What do you see in this conference that'll help them go to the next step? If they're a new believer, you can talk about how it's important for a new believer to be grounded in their faith in these ways, and this is what you'll get at this conference.
Yeah.
Or for someone who wants to learn how to share his faith, if this is a conference where they're going to learn how to share their faith, this is where you can learn that. It's hard to learn that outside of the conference, but there you can really focus on it.
So our recommendation is really have your talking points down. It's going to be different for each one, but make sure that they're down. And once you give them, just pause and listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Because probably they've got some obstacles that will stop, that their thinking is going to stop them from going.
I think that's a big part of challenging is listening to their obstacles and then helping them overcome them. So the obstacles are usually money, or their parents don't know much about the conference and kind of don't want them to go yet, or they have some schedule conflict with sports or some family thing, or they just don't have the motivation to go. You haven't convinced them that this is really valuable to go. If you don't know why they're not going, it's hard to get them to go.
Yeah, money, parents, schedule, it's all real.
It is real.
There is a fifth one, though, that I just thought about.
What's that?
It's the spiritual barrier. I don't believe the enemy wants them to attend.
Yeah.
So I think as you're discerning your conversation with that person, if they're just sort of generally thinking, it might be that they're just spiritually needing prayer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just think just keep in mind that there is a spiritual conflict going on.
God does amazing things through these events.
Yeah.
There's never been a conference that I went to that I didn't think after the fact, oh, I wish that kid would have been here. Right. Oh, how much it would have changed his life if he were here or she was here. And what's so funny?
I've got some notes I want to share.
Let's do it. Throw it in there.
Because here's the nature of young people, okay? This is all good, and our next thing is be organized. But yeah, be organized. But here's the thing. Oftentimes we'll talk to a student, and they'll initially it'll be dead silence.
Yes. They've never thought about it.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
And I thought of these axioms that I've based my ministry with young people on for how many years have I don't
Too
even
many.
say. The hair doesn't recognize. Okay, so the first thing is a hard no at the start is a soft maybe, right?
Yep.
A soft maybe is a definite yes, and a definite yes is a lot of work.
That's true.
All right.
That's true.
Two more. The
So
first.
what do you mean by a definite yes is a lot of work? It means that there's a lot of work to get a kid, even after they say yes.
Yeah, when they
to
say
get a
yes,
kid to the
there is
conference.
an enormous mountain.
You got to
climb.
raise the money. You got to
Yeah.
get the permission slips. You got to get all that stuff.
And the first no is never final.
Yep.
And the first and the yes
absolutely.
is never in the books.
And that's why I would also say you got to start early by broad sowing. You got to talk about this early on because what you said is true. They will say no at first.
Oh yeah.
And then the more you talk about it, the more you nurture that conversation, the more you personally challenge them, you'll start to get a lot of yeses. What you said about be organized is right on the money. Is exactly right.
Spot on.
Spot on, yes. What I would say is make a list. We make a list of our students and we talk about each one of them. What's keeping him from going? Is he going? Is he not? And as we start to know that one's not going, we move them to the bottom of the list. But there's always a chance they can go and you work through the barriers. But if you're organized, again, not passively doing it, but actively participating, actively getting them, talking to them, sitting down with them one-on-one, texting them, whatever it takes to get in front of them and having a conversation with each person, that's what you do.
I'm just glad that you mentioned the organized one, since you are the organized one and I'm not. I would have felt a little bit hollow.
More credibility coming from me, huh?
Exactly. But even if you're not organized, it's very simple. List of names here, some obstacles here, check off when you've challenged them personally. It's easy.
Yeah, the point is be intentional about this
Yeah.
recruiting. The last thing is to follow them up. Don't just assume that once you've asked them, once you've sat down and challenged them, that it's going to happen. You got to keep going through every stage of it and help them register, help them raise the money, help them get their parents' permission slip. Whatever the steps are, you're following up the whole way. This is part of recruiting. This is part of getting them to the conference so that God can work in their life in a unique way.
And the parent's the advocate. If you have a
Yes.
parent behind them,
Oh my
if
gosh.
the parents want them to go, be in touch with the parents all
Yes.
the time. Let them do some of the hard work of reminding, getting them ready, those type of things. Important.
Well,
Get
these kind of
involved.
events are one of the reasons you need to have a good relationship with parents. It's one of the reasons that you connect with a parent early on if you can and try to have a relationship with them, because in these kind of events, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're talking to the parent and telling them about why this is valuable.
Yep. All right, so in conclusion, our question to you is, what do you do in addition to what we've talked about to help challenge students to conferences?
If you like what we're talking about, and we do, subscribe, become a part of our community. We'd love to have you. But until next week, this is Mark.
And Kevin,
And we're here with Go to the Campus. And when in doubt,
go to the campus.